10,000 years ago, the fate of all humanity was decided on a single world. That world was Terra. That moment was the siege, and at the heart of it stood the most beloved of the Emperor's sons. His name was Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, known across the galaxy as the Great Angel. Among the 20 Primarchs created by the Emperor, Sanguinius stood apart, not just because of his power, but because of his character. Tall, luminous, with vast white wings that carried him above any battlefield. He was a warrior with terrifying capability and a leader of extraordinary compassion. His fellow Primarchs held him in a regard that bordered on reverence. Even Horus, the War Master, counted Sanguinius among his closest brothers. That friendship would become the cruelest weapon the ruinous powers ever forged. The Horus Heresy began with a corruption. On the world of Davin, Horus was wounded by a chaos-tainted blade and turned against the Emperor. Half the Primarchs followed him into rebellion. The galaxy was torn apart. The greatest civil war in human history had begun. Sanguinius remained loyal. There was never any question of it. But the war cost him dearly before he ever reached Terra. At the Cygnus cluster, Horus lured the Blood Angels into a trap. The system had been transformed into a slaughterhouse dedicated to Khorne. There, Sanguinius faced Kybanda, a bloodthirster of immense power, who shattered the Primarch's bones and slaughtered hundreds of his sons. Sanguinius recovered and drove the creature back, but the psychic trauma of Cygnus left a permanent mark. The curse known as the Black Rage, which compels Blood Angels to relive their Primarch's death in visions of devastating grief, traces its origins to that day. Years of brutal warfare followed. When the path to Terra finally opened, Sanguinius went. He already knew what awaited him. Sanguinius possessed the gift of foresight. He had seen his own death. He had seen himself standing before Horus, and he knew how it ended. He chose to go anyway. That choice, made in full knowledge of the outcome, defines him above everything else. When the Blood Angels reached Terra, the siege had already begun. Horus had brought everything. The sons of Horus, the World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Emperor's children, the Thousand Sons, the Word Bearers, the Iron Warriors, the Night Lords, Traitor Titan Legions, Dark Mechanicum, Siege Engines, demons pouring through the thinning veil between reality and the warp, the largest military force ever assembled in Imperial history, aimed at a single gate. The Imperial Palace had been designed by Rogel Dorn, the greatest defensive architect in human history. But the traitor Titan Legion, Legio Mortis, with the Imperator-class Titan Dies Irae at its head, walked against the walls, and the walls began to come down. Sanguinius took his position at the Eternity Gate, the final approach to the Sanctum Imperialis. If it fell, everything fell. 3 times the traitor forces scaled the walls. 3 times Sanguinius hurled them back. He flew above the battlements and beheaded a traitor Reaver Titan with a single blow. He faced Kybanda again, and this time snapped its spine across his knee, sending it screaming back to the wall. He was everywhere his sons needed him, and it was costing him everything. 70,000 defenders stood at the Eternity Gate when the final assault came. Guilliman and the Ultramarines were 9 hours away. An eternity. Sanguinius told any defender who wished to leave that they could go. None of them left. Horus, who had spent much of the siege in psychic communion with the Chaos Gods aboard his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, finally acted when he learned Guilliman was 9 hours out. There was no more time. The matter had to be decided now. Horus lowered the void shields of the Vengeful Spirit. The Emperor chose to act. He assembled his Adeptus Custodes, Rogel Dorn, Sanguinius, and companies of Imperial Fists and Blood Angels veterans, and teleported directly into the flagship. Horus scattered them the moment they arrived. The assault force materialized across different sections of a warship transformed by chaos, its corridors filled with demons, its structure weaponized against the living. The Blood Angels fought their way through, using Sanguinius's knowledge of the ship to cripple it as they advanced. Sanguinius reached the War Master first. Horus offered him one final chance to join him. 2 centuries of brotherhood, everything they had shared. Sanguinius refused. What followed was never going to be equal. Sanguinius was exhausted. Horus had been filled with the power of all 4 Chaos Gods, barely recognizable as the brother who had once been closest to the Great Angel. The outcome was not in doubt, but Sanguinius fought, and in that fight he did the one thing that mattered. He cracked the armor of Horus. A single blow landed with everything he had left, opened a wound that would later prove decisive. Then Horus killed him. The Emperor arrived to find his son's body at the War Master's feet. The grief on the Emperor's face was recorded by those who witnessed it. That grief became fury. The Emperor and Horus fought in a battle that tore through both the material realm and the warp simultaneously. Horus, channeling the full power of chaos, pushed the Emperor to his absolute limit. But the wound Sanguinius had opened was there. Through it, the Emperor found his anger. Horus died. In his final moments, something of the original Horus returned. Enough to beg the Emperor to finish it before the darkness reclaimed him. The Emperor granted that mercy. The soul was destroyed completely. Nothing remained for chaos to recover. The Emperor was carried back to Terra, mortally wounded. He was placed upon the Golden Throne, where he has remained for 10,000 years, sustained in a state between life and death. The heresy was over. Sanguinius was mourned as no figure in Imperial history had ever been mourned. His body was taken to Baal and laid to rest in a golden sarcophagus within a vast tomb, topped with angel effigies. Temples rose in his name beside those of the Emperor himself. His image was carved into the stained glass of 1,000,000 basilicas across the galaxy. But his most enduring legacy lived inside his sons. The psychic weight of his death imprinted onto the gene seed of every blood angel who would ever live. Every space marine of the Ike's Legion carries the echo of their Primarch's final moments. Those consumed by the Black Rage believe they are Sanguinius himself, reliving the events of the Vengeful Spirit over and over, unable to save him. These warriors are gathered into units called the Death Company, honored in death by their brothers in a tradition 10,000 years old. The crack in Horus's armor is remembered too. In the belief of the Blood Angels, Sanguinius did not simply die. He gave the Emperor the opening that saved all of humanity. His death made the victory possible. That is what sustains his sons across 10,000 years of war. The Great Angel knew what he was doing. The foresight that showed him his death also showed him why it was necessary. He did not fall. He chose, and the choice was enough to save everything.